Hey, I'm Tyler.
I'm K.C.
And you're listening to
The Element Podcast.
What's going on, all my woods people? I'm sitting upstairs with KC. We just went live on Instagram, actually, and got many questions about the bunk beds that were in the background. People are wanting to know if this is like the Elements headquarters and this is where we sleep every night. I guess people just don't understand that we have wives.
Maybe that's a problem that we should convey a little bit more.
We do have wives.
The real kind, not
real
the
kind.
Beards.
No. We do have wives and kids. So
yeah,
there ain't too much. You and me just working till the midnight hours and hopping in the bunk beds and telling stories until we fall asleep.
I tell you what, after about 8:30 p.m., I ain't worth nothing. So ain't no reason for us to work that late.
8:30 is late. I'll tell you what.
I had a late lunch today, so I'm planning on going home and
sleeping
and working. Yeah, and then having a late supper. That way I can get some stuff done.
Yeah,
so it's gonna work out well.
Luppers.
That's right. I went home for lunch today. Tyler and I actually had some pretty interesting stuff happen earlier today. But I went home for lunch, ate a little lunch, and figured out that going home for lunch while my wife is home might not be the best thing because she wants to update me on all the things that have happened in the last couple hours. And not much has happened in the last couple hours, but we still need to talk about it. So
it's pretty collaborative on that kind of stuff.
Let me tell you, she likes to tell me things. I'm glad she likes me, though. It's good.
Yeah.
I don't know why. This morning, all right, this morning was pretty eventful because what?
It was.
I was literally sitting in my recliner in my underwear and researching some elk tags. And Tyler texts me and says, "Pig rage." Which can only mean one thing. That meant that he looked at the Moultrie cell cam that we have out on the back of his property, and lo and behold, it was set to instant mode. And there were pigs all over it. So that's a good way to get your boy up out of the chair and to get him to put some clothes on, put some boots on, and head on over to Tyler's house. And
you're sweating by the time you got here.
I was, dude. It coming.
You're in your own pig rage.
That's pretty fun, man. We put the old spot and stalk on some pigs, and this is one of those things where I probably wouldn't ever use a trail camera like this for deer, partially because anytime it's actually hunting time, I'm usually in the woods, and it's not like a situation I can put myself in.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to shooting hogs, and especially shooting a hog that you're going to eat, like it is pretty effective to be doing some work or doing something you need to be doing, checking the camera from time to time.
Did you know what I heard recently?
What?
I heard the old Meat Eater crew. I hadn't listened to too many podcasts theirs in a while, but I listened to one the other day, and they had some live scope discussion, and this is what happens when you're a dad, is you don't get to listen to anything for more than about 2 minutes at a time. So I got distracted and never got to finish hearing what they were talking about. They were talking about live scope and crappie, right?
Yeah.
I ain't saying I'm for it or against it, but I can tell you it's effective.
It is effective.
And when it comes to meat acquisition, I'm all about acquiring some meat in a fast way. Here's the thing.
But Tyler, it's not. If you're about meat acquisition,
you should go to the grocery store. Right. Except for if I can make myself more effective while hunting and I like to eat wild game, then I can go. I literally went back and could have harvested a pig quicker than I could have gone to Brookshire's this morning.
That's right.
You know what I mean? That's pretty good grocery shopping right there.
I guarantee you, if you went back there with
and I don't
a shotgun,
need a hunting license.
Yeah.
So,
how about that?
Yeah, exactly.
But you need a driver's license. Thanks, government, but to get the Brookshires. So which one? I mean,
that's right. I didn't think about that.
That's right.
Got to have a DL to get the Brookshires.
Yeah, you do. You got to have a lot of things. You got to have a Social Security number to have that debit card you're going to use at Brookshire's.
Yeah,
they got tabs on you, man.
It's over, man. They do.
It's over, man.
Only thing they ain't gotten me is a chip yet, but it's coming.
It's coming. It's coming. So, anyways, what we did is that we went back there with a very effective and efficient manner of spot and stalk. We actually didn't think the pigs were going to be back there. because they hadn't been on camera for about 20 or 30 minutes probably.
Yeah. You hung one of the Moultrie base cameras back there, which is the newest, or I guess 2022, cell cam for them. And it was like 8:12 was the last photos we had. And it was like 8:40 or something.
We're stalking it like 8:50.
8:50.
I looked at my phone while we were walking back there, and we get back there thinking it's not. Tyler even said it's not looking good. And I'm like, yeah, man, that grass is pretty tall over there, and some of these pigs are small. So, about that time, he says, "There's one right there," and it's like heading away from us at like 40 yards. I can't see it very good. We're trying to figure out where it is, and then I see him further up, kind of where your corn pile had been, and they kind of are up in there just raging around. And then we see like the long grass out there just twitching around. Like, man, there's pigs everywhere. And kind of make a plan. I range 52 yards. I'm like, it's kind of far shot, but I can do that. And I said, all right, I'm going to shoot that back one. It's like about a 100-pounder probably, maybe a little less. Might have been like a 90 or 85. Because we were like talking the whole time. This is one of the coolest parts about this, is that the whole time this whole interaction is going on, we are discussing the menu options before we take the shot. It's like, man, if we shot that one, it's a good eating size, And
Do a hole on the grill.
Yeah, exactly. And there's little ones. I'm like, man, I could shoot one of those little ones, and we could just the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. At one point, I was like, you might try shooting that thing like in front of the shoulder.
Yeah.
Just to stone it, and that way we have like the most meat that we can left on it.
That's right, yeah. So those pigs end up working into the tall grass. All of them do. So we work up quite a bit further. We kind of get in this little hidey hole where we're like, okay, they're going to work back out into the lane.
I like the word hidey hole.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? They're going to work back out into the lane there, and we'll get a shot. Well, of course, early in the morning, swirly winds. We actually had quite a bit of time, but probably 5 minutes transpired, and then the pigs ended up smelling us. So that group of pigs hauls off so fast in the woods.
And they were bigger than we
Dude,
thought.
we got to look at some of them, and there's some big. The big boar was in that group.
Yeah,
and he was muddy and nasty. People always talk about broadhead sharpness and penetration and all this stuff. Nobody ever talks about shooting through the mud cap on a big old boar hog.
Dude, his sticks out far, and
Yes.
it's been there since he's been showing up for like weeks now.
Yeah, he's nasty.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just walking around with a big old I can't handle having a scab on me. You know what I mean? Imagine having a big old just half-inch thick thing of mud on you.
Dude, I can't stand my hands, especially having like a film of any sort on them, like dust. How when you catch a bunch of bass, you get your thumb all kind of raged up? That's the worst feeling in the world to me. Yeah,
that didn't bother me too bad.
I like the fact that like I'm like, yeah, it looked like I caught a bunch of bass. But dude, it like the feeling is like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Really?
Me. Yeah. I don't know why. It's weird.
I don't have that too much.
I did used to take Elmer's glue and put it all over my hands, let it dry, and then peel it off. That was fun.
How much of it did you eat?
None.
That's good.
Did you?
No, I didn't eat no glue.
Are you sure?
I knew the kids that did, though. Well, your friends.
They still live in Salt Springs,
right.
don't they?
That's right. Out on parole last week. We thought the thing was over. But, here's the deal with pigs is it's never really over because a lot of times they just run to the closest cover and then just kind of take shelter. And those kind of did that. But we were kind of in discussion of man, we should probably just let them go. They'll be back out later today, and it'll work out. We can just come back after them, as opposed to kind of getting in there and messing it up too bad. Well, while we're talking about this, we noticed Tyler noticed, I think, that the long grass was still long grassing out there. So I was like, oh, gosh. And I was like, is it an armadillo? And I'm like, I don't know. So we started stalking out into there.
Reminds me of when Cody Brown shot that pig a couple years ago on that hunt.
Yeah.
You go, Cody shot an armadillo. But he said it like Brandon says it. Armadillo.
Armadillo. So we start stalking out into the long grass, and we think we're stalking this pig, and then we decide it's a mud clod, and then we start stalking a different little pig, and the mud clod starts moving. So then it's not a mud clod anymore, and it is a little pig, and it ends up there's 6 or 7 10 to 18 pounders running around. And I pick out the biggest one. It was a brown kind of colored piggy, And
Mudclod colored.
Yeah, mudclod colored for sure. And I'm ranging big old grass clumps, and I ranged at 18 yards. And so I was like, okay, that pig's going to be a little farther than that whenever I get a shot at him. And it was actually pretty fun and slightly challenging because we had the wind on these pigs for sure. They were not going to smell us, so it's like, let's just sit here and wait and kind of play whack-a-mole almost on these little piggies. Well, I think I'm about to get a shot. I've come to full draw on this pig. And then he turns and goes back kind of in some thicker stuff. Like, golly. And the whole time I'm like, man, that thing's kind of small. It's going to be kind of hard to hit even at 20 yards. And the pig walks out a little further and does give me a pretty good shot. And I'm at full draw. I know Tyler's on him. So I'm like, all right, it's a little far. So I aimed a little high on the pig's body. Now, given this pig is like the size of a rugby ball. All right, it's bigger than a football, but not much bigger. What's a more American thing to say that it's the size of? Like the size of a grocery store watermelon, kind of like that, but longer, of course. So a very large butternut squash.
So many descriptors
That's right.
here.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to aim like high shoulder. Worst case scenario, I hit it high shoulder and it goes down because it's a tiny pig and I'm shooting a mechanical. I think, yeah. I was
your first shot.
First shot was a mechanical. Well, I shoot and I end up shooting higher than I thought. And we looked at the footage and I may either have had some torque on the bow because it was just, well into the stalk, or my bow might be a little bit out of tune. I don't know for sure. But my arrow came out, knocked down a little bit, and it ends up like skipping off the top of its back. I don't even know if any hair was cut on that arrow, to the truth of the matter. It doesn't really look like it too much. But
I looked when he got out of there. I looked at the slow motion clip, and I didn't see any blood on him at all.
I don't think it got him too much. Well, then that one's real mad because the arrow slapped him. So he's like coming at us, and I'm like trying to do a tactical reload and pulling the arrow out, and he gets by. Little pigs can run pretty fast, especially when they're that big. If they're like 5 or 8 pounders, you can catch them. But those size like that, they can run like the wind. And this one takes off into the woods, and then his little buddy, who is a black pig, and he's coming along as well. And I've got my air loaded for this one. And I'm thinking he's about to stop, and I'm about to get a shot
Dude,
right in
he's coming
front of me.
right at us, man.
Right at us. And I'm thinking like, oh, I'm about to get him. And then he veers off to the right. And I went full-fledged bow fishing mode at that point in time. I just swing around. I ain't got my peep lined up. I ain't looking at the side or nothing. I'm just instinctive.
How close is he at this point?
Dude, he is, we're talking about a foot measurement type thing, not a yards. He's 3.5 foot away, and I shot him with a cutthroat too. And this is real good because through all this, I shoot 4 arrows. Okay, I'll tell you about the other 2 in a second. Not one time did I have to look down at my D-loop because I'm shooting a hook style release. The Cobra makes this, I think it's called the Moment is the release I'm using. And it's just so intuitive. You don't have to look at your D-loop. You just put your thumb on your string, find it, and it's right in there ready to go. It's a pretty slick little deal. And pretty reliable in this situation, but especially when I camp my bow to the side to shoot it, it's not going to make it do something weird, with that hook. But I go like a big old rolling gar on my right, and I just whack and pull the trigger, and that pig was 2 inches from being lights out. I end up skinning the top of his nose, and I'm telling you, if that 150 grain cutthroat would have hit that pig in the head. Think about this.
Smoke City.
It's a single bevel broadhead into the skull of something. So what is single bevel supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. That could have been wild. But it didn't happen. We were so close, man. It almost happened. And then
we were like, oh, man.
Away. It's over. And then I think Tyler said, look, there's more out there.
Yeah, they're all bunched up like they do.
Yeah, they all got in a big old wad. And we're like, oh, man, I'm about to get a shot on one of these. Well, they're little. And they're like 20, 22, 23 yards away, and I'd already missed one at that range. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to, see what they do or whatever. Well, then they just take off running. Crap. And so but then the tall grass explodes, and out comes a big pig. And I said, "There's a mama!" And so I load up with Sever this time. And that pig takes off running at probably like 25 yards. And I'm like, and I've done a lot of pig shooting on the run, but not with a bow. I've done it with a gun. And normally, if you're shooting a 223, a pig on the run at like a decent range, like within 100 yards, you aim at like the nose of the pig and you'll hit it behind the shoulder. Well, this pig wasn't on the run like blistering fast, so I kind of did the same thing at 20 yards. And what ended up happening is I hit that pig through, this time I looked through my peep and everything, right? It's a good shot. Tyler nailed it on the footage on this stuff, by the way. It's going to be pretty sweet on
I was surprised.
YouTube.
I don't feel like I was looking at the camera for half that time.
You can just get good sooner or later. You know what I mean? I think you're there. You just put that thing on 120 and just be there, But I end up hitting this hog. I'm like, oh, this is going to smoke. It's going to smoke. And then right at the last second, it's like, whoop, the pig's in front of the arrow, and I end up hitting this pig through both rear hip bones. That's your hip bone, right? Like this thing right here.
I don't know.
It's the big bone in your back leg. The thing that goes into your hip socket should be your hip bone.
I don't like to think of it as mine because it was the pigs. Because that kind of creeps me out.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. You hit a pig there with a vector hammer, 600 grains. It's going to break both of those back legs. That was pretty impressive.
It was.
And right then, that pig just locked it up. It was done. Didn't get a pass through. Actually, I did get a pass through. There was blood on the opposite side where it poked through.
Yep.
The hammer busted through both of those back leg bones and poked through, but the arrow was still in the pig. And that just locked the pig up. And I've seen them do this before a lot of times whenever you hit them. And they'll just like kind of give up. Like they're like, what just happened? So I'll run up there because I know it's not like fatal, at least instant. In hindsight, I probably hit femur is what that is. Femoral artery, the femur. So hip bone. Mm-hmm. I probably hit femoral because there's a lot of blood in that spot. And that pig would have died pretty quickly. But I ran up there and got another hammer out. And this time, this had an afflictor.
Where are you getting all these hammers from, by the way?
Dude,
I feel like you've shot so many arrows this morning, dude.
This is my fourth one. And I had the fifth one out. I did. And that's my whole quiver, in case you didn't know. But I had that afflictor, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to put a second one in this pig to finish it off, and it's just going to crumple right here, and it's going to be awesome. And I pull up. And I can't really see the pig real great because it's in the grass kind of, and it's black pig, and it's crazy how well black things can blend in.
Yeah, last year you shot a pig that was facing 180 degrees different than what you thought he was.
That's exactly true, man. It's like there's something to it. It's like you know how tigers stand out real bad on a concrete landscape at the zoo, but you put that thing out in the woods, man. Blends in real good. Same thing with the black pig. Shadows and stuff, contrast. It's real bright out there. That contrast is... I need to stop telling stories so long. Tyler's getting tired of me talking.
I just had to sit up.
So this pig's like up in the brush. I'm like, all right, I think that's behind the front shoulder. Whack! I hit it real good, but the pig takes off running. I'm like, I know that pig was broken down. What's going on? And then I watch the pig take off, and I can tell it's bleeding pretty good. But it's like going sideways because its back end is not functioning properly. And we're like kind of freaking out. And I'm like, oh, man, we got to go track that one or whatever. And then I heard it but didn't really note it very much just because pigs crash around. But you said, like, I think it might have crashed right out there in the woods. So we kind of, like, gather our thoughts. I put my fifth and final arrow back in the quiver. And
it's Robin Hood and them over the shoulder.
That's it. Well, I had the old expensive broadhead on that last one, and I was like, man, I don't want to lose this one. So I'm probably just going to not fling an arrow. I thought about flinging it whenever. I mean, if we're still moving, I'm probably going to be trying to fling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's good practice for like elk woods and stuff.
That's
man.
it, dude. That's right.
Yeah.
I like to fling arrows.
Yeah, it's fun, dude.
It is cool. It's the first time I got to shoot 4 arrows in one sitting or in quite a while. Anyways, that pig ran out in there and crashed while we were kind of gathering our thoughts or whatever. We start trying to pick up arrows and finding 2 of the 4. One of them was in said pig. And we get up in the woods, and we're, like, excited because it's right there. Blood trail was great, of course, you know. That arrow was still stuck in that pig. The pig hit a whole bunch of stuff and never broke that hammer, which is a pretty good testament to how tough they are. I have broken a few this year, but, you know, when a 250-pound deer lands sideways on an arrow, it's pretty hard to not break. But this pig we walk up on in the woods, I'm like, oh, dude, all right. Like, we got some pig meat. This is awesome. And we start kind of planning the processing and stuff. And then literally we've been around this pig. I think we went to the truck and got the truck and came back. The buck truck became the pig truck today.
Yep.
Got back and then went to drag the pig off, and I said, this is a boy. I can't believe it. It just the social situation of what was going on there with little piggies and another single. It's just that's always going to be a sow. Mm-hmm. Didn't think twice about it not being, and then pretty much went to drag it off and found evidence of said sexuality of pig. So, you know, like it's
well, this is you are assuming
I'm sorry, I assumed the gender, but yeah. So that was a fun pig morning. Now we've got it quartered and cleaned up a little bit on ice. Going to do a brine and probably smoke a bunch of that, and that way we might have some pulled pork sandwiches when everybody comes down for our spring fling. We're going to do some more air flinging at pigs here pretty soon. We've got 2 new. Well, really, kind of 3, but 2 that are going to be probably introduced that week. That are guys that are going to come down and help us out this season, and we're pretty excited about that. So, y'all know Eric E. Gentry. He is going to be running camera full time for us this fall, like it was last fall, but in a little bit different situation. He's going to be kind of head of production, helping out with that stuff, and then we're going to have 2 interns, Michael and Greg. That are going to be...
We call him Meg.
Meg. Hey, Meg. Yeah, that'd be good. Or Geikel.
Meg, y'all come here. Geikel.
Yeah,
gosh,
so that'd be
dude.
good. But we're going to be doing that in a couple weeks. So, anyways, we're going to probably do some smoking on this meat and have some pig to eat. You have recently learned a little bit about pig cooking yourself, I think, right?
Yeah.
What? Did I get you?
I need to stop. Gosh,
What?
I'm an idiot, dude. The things that go through my mind, man, are so dumb. Remember how we talked about this in Oklahoma at the end of the year?
Did you go just make pig cooking?
Yep.
Cooking?
Yep. Yeah. So dumb. I gotta stop, dude. It's too much. Like at some point,
dude? Here's the deal, man. Some people laugh about just dirty, bad jokes.
Yeah.
You know what? And we laugh about combining 2 words together. So, not to make you feel good about yourself, right? Because we are all depraved humans. But, like, I hate to say it, but it could be worse, you know?
It's true. It's true, man. I'm actually getting hot with all this laughing, so I'm going to turn that AC
thing down,
a
dude. Let's chill some meat up here.
Yeah, so, okay, so, what were we talking about? Oh,
talking about you cooking some pig meat.
So, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, I cooked so I was telling K.C. this morning, I was like, I cooked a backstrap. Last time I cooked a pig backstrap was like several years ago. It's kind of an embarrassing thing to think about, but I hadn't shot a ton of pigs or whatever in the last few years. But so I did it in the crock pot, and I was going to do it like in the crock pot with cream cheese and stuff like that. And it turned into a shriveled piece of jerky, basically. I mean, it was just dry, about like that Velociraptor's tail right there. And I was, really disappointed in it. And so recently I shot a pig, and y'all saw the video. If you haven't, go check it out. It's called something, Shooting Pigs in Texas in Slow Motion or something like that. And it's a pretty cool video. I shot 2 pigs at 40, and I took a backstrap that night, And I did a brine because K.C. mentioned I should probably do that, and I thought it was a good idea. So I did that, and then a few hours later, I dried it off and put a bunch of steak seasoning on it, and salt and pepper, and did it over charcoal on my grill, my new old hand-me-down that my dad gave me. And it was one of the best things a wild game I've had, dude, that I cooked at least. It was really good. So now I'm fired up and ready to do some.
What'd you say earlier about brines?
Brian's or Brian's? Because there's a lot of Brian's in our life.
The brines that you use on hogs.
They can't mess them up.
You said you ain't never known a brine to do something bad to a piece of meat.
Yeah, yeah. I like them on chicken. I like them on hogs. I like them on everything.
You got to watch out though, because here a while back I actually did try to marinate some chicken in a citrus marinade and left it too long, and the chicken turned into goo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, dude, that makes me disgusted.
It was weird, man.
It didn't turn into ceviche.
No, it like
turned into
literally was like falling apart, and that is like, why you don't eat processed.
You know when you cook
meat.
chicken, like say you put it on a skillet. Mm-hmm. You know, like when the juice comes out, it turns into like gooey white stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what the citrus. It was just cooking it barely enough.
That's it.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened. The citrus cooked it.
Yep.
Yep.
It's nasty, dude. That is nasty.
Until it's ceviche, and it's good. So we've been doing a lot of cooking here lately, and I think that we might do a little bit more video stuff about some stuff like that.
I'm hoping.
Teach some of y'all uncivilized folks how to maybe do a little culinary stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Don't quit going to Taco Bell like we do.
That's right.
All fall.
We've been talking about that, actually. We need to do a better job of eating better in the fall. Now, given a good hot fast food meal is pretty nice sometimes.
Can somebody's girlfriend like come cook for us on the road for free?
Yeah, for real.
That would be great.
That'd be terrific.
Like not like some random person's girlfriend, but somebody
that we know. Yeah,
yeah,
somebody that we know who might be really good at cooking street corn. Can they come cook for us?
Yeah, for real.
That would be real good. Mm-hmm. But so that's what's been happening lately.
Yep.
Upcoming here, we are going to be headed to the old Tennessee, right?
Mm-hmm. We are.
Yeah.
Yep. We're going to be going to the NWTF and convention there in Nashville, Tennessee, which I've been to that place several times. Cool city.
Are you going to bring your guitar just in case?
No.
Like, what if you could just walk in and just all of a sudden, like, people are like, man, it's Tyler Jones.
Man, you know what would happen?
What?
I would walk in and people would be like, get out of here.
Nah, dude.
There's also a lot of guitars around there that I could, if I needed one.
Yeah, you can probably find one in
Nashville. Find one. Yeah, so we're going to be there. Actually, Chad Rice from Cruiser, he invited us, which is it's the first time he's ever invited us to do anything. But he invited us to come work his booth for free.
That's right.
we're gonna do that for him and hang out at Chad's booth a lot. So not all the time, but did we set a
Friday
time?
at 1:30. We're gonna be there Friday at 1:30 for sure.
Yeah.
So if you're around the area and you want to come meet up with us and hang out and talk about turkeys for like 3 minutes and talk about whitetail for 30, you come to the booth and we'll be talking about that stuff. Come by, swing by, as you'd say, in a saddle. You'll be swinging a little bit.
Yeah, or if you got a big old beard, you can be swinging.
Or if you wear pineapple shirts.
Yep,
so,
you could. Which it happens to be what you did at ATA.
But there will be some cool stuff at the Cruiser booth. You can come by and check out all the different saddles. I mean, Tyler and I run the XC just because it's simple and it works real good for us, but Chad actually has a couple other options you can check out as well. And
I think old Hunter H2H HTH actually runs the Archon, doesn't he?
He does. I haven't been in an Archon since about last April, I think, or something, so I kind of forgot what it's
Turkey
all
season.
about. Yeah, that's right. Hunting turkeys from a saddle.
You're swinging for swingers.
That's right. But, snoot swinging. So that's if we shoot a turkey this year, we're going to call that video that, swinging snoots. That'd be pretty cool, actually. Don't y'all
we
take
shoot turkeys and pigs and call it snooters, just straight up.
Oh, snooting around. I love it, man. So with that, I think we're going to do some turkey hunting with Chad this year, maybe.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. Tennessee has a pretty liberal bag limit, I think, right? Kind of like Texas, where you can actually go kill some birds. Because here's the deal, y'all. I would absolutely love to go to South Dakota and go turkey hunting. Love it. I love that place. But it's you're allowed one turkey, unless you run them over. If you run them over, you can get as many salvage tags as you want.
Can I run them over with a shotgun?
That's right. But if you're going to shoot them with a weapon, you only are allowed one turkey, unless you draw or do something. I don't really understand it. But, like, I just can't travel real far for one bird, man. It's just not super worth it to me. So, especially when, like, you can go to Arkansas or Tennessee or Texas and shoot a bunch. So Missouri. Can you shoot a bunch in Missouri?
I think there's a lot of turkeys there. I don't know if you can shoot a bunch, but there's a lot of turkeys there. So one thing that you can do up there is shoot a turkey in the morning and smallmouth fish in the evening.
Dang, Missouri.
And you can't hunt turkeys until after noon or whatever.
That's right.
So
outlaws.
But I mean, there's Missouri fishing there, and there's some Missouri fishing to be done in Tennessee as well.
Some Missouri. Some smallmouth fishing.
That too.
Yeah, and then there's the Holston River over there. So we've been talking to some other buddies. Udder buddies.
It's like a bloody nutty, but
Listen, guys,
I'm
going to let y'all in on a little side of things that just happened. We had an SD card run out.
Yes, sir.
And we had to go get a new one. And now the jive is gone.
Y'all don't even know.
Y'all don't even know.
Y'all didn't even know.
My pronunciations are about to get bad, but
it's hot.
It is hot, dude.
Why is it not cooling off, dude?
The Buck Truck's air conditioner's in bad shape right now too. We're gonna have to get a new AC thing done or something on that. It might. Hopefully, you can just fill it up with new Freon. I don't really know how all that works, but
man, I don't either. Don't ask me any of those kind of questions.
I know some stuff about house air conditioners, but not truck ones.
The light turned blue as opposed to green.
It
that
feels
seems
cooler.
Like a cooler thing for it to happen.
That's right.
I think it was on fan.
When it's on green, it's just pumping pollen in here.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's why I was itching earlier.
That's it.
Yeah.
But we're probably going to do. Here's the deal. It's like this, y'all. I'll let y'all in a little bit of business side of what we do. We're blessed and thankful for the opportunity to be doing the element and living in our element and all that. And part of that, and what we've really founded this thing on way back in 1979 is that it ain't just whitetail hunting. Yeah. What we do about near everything there is in the outdoor space.
We ain't just living in our buck bedding.
That's right.
Living in our element
and all that stuff. But we, like, straight up, I will be a non-consumptive user from time to time and just go hiking. You know, I like that.
Especially before elk season. You don't consume much at all.
No, that's right. I'm being consumed by my fiery passion to kill a bull. We probably are going to cool it on the whitetail stuff a little bit because right now it seems like y'all are pretty checked out of whitetail stuff from what I hear. So we might be doing a lot more fishing stuff and some cooking and stuff like that on the channel. And, of course, maybe a little turkey hunting as well. But
fishing is what I want to do.
We want to do some fishing, and I think y'all like fishing too. So we're going to do some of that stuff.
But you can send us a message on any platform you can reach us through and let us know if you have a preference as to what you would like to see because we want to give you all the opportunity to have a voice to produce some element content. And if we're going to put stuff on the YouTube channel, like I want you guys to enjoy it. I mean, I like I said, I can do this stuff, that I like, kitchen 2 and 3 inch cutthroat in my own spare time if I want to, So
that's right. I like to plant onions in my garden, but y'all don't want to watch me do that because it takes way too long. So
one at a time, or
one at a time. Actually, what I do is 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it's 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4. Twice, and then I grab 6 or 8 onions, stick them in the holes, and then I pinch them all in there. That's right.
Dang.
You already got bored.
Turn into a crab.
That's right.
Already got bored.
You didn't even watch no video.
I glazed over by the time you were done talking about
it. That's right. Onions are not the showstopper that tomatoes are, right? So it's just it ain't quite the same.
By the way, on that phone call earlier, I glazed over a couple times. Man.
I noticed in the beginning you were getting sleepy, dude.
I was struggling, dude.
Yeah, we had a phone call. It was a good phone call earlier.
It was, man.
About some archery stuff that hopefully we'll get to let y'all in on soon. But if you have some thoughts or some cool videos you've watched in the past about fishing, you'd like to see some more stuff or whatever, let us know that stuff because Tyler and I aren't really that cool. So we don't like to do cool stuff sometimes, like catch, he said, 3-inch native cutthroat trout. So sometimes y'all like to see us catch big sharks and stuff like that, and I just hadn't done that on video in a long time, or ever on video, actually.
I was going to ask.
Because that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Dadgummit, dude. My biggest shark of my life was a 7-foot 1-inch bull shark caught by myself on the head of a jack that I'd caught out of the kayak, that the tail end portion was eaten by a bull shark underneath my kayak. Epic story, right? None of this is on video. My mom and dad had already kayaked across the channel and took my phone with them for some reason. So then I couldn't record anything or do anything. Just had to let the shark swim free.
Hang on, it's just a memory in your mind.
That's it, dude. Thankfully, I took a section of the leader and stretched it out and then marked the spot from like the head to toe and had got a length measurement off of it that way. Cool. Yeah.
When I used to fish, there was a time when Jet was young and I was working at the lodge with my dad where I would like fish for like 30 minutes on the way home every day. You know, I'd just like go to a bridge, walk down the bridge and cast like a big old swim bait, try to catch something giant, you know. And I would have my dad's number like ready to like punch send, you know what I mean? Like that way, if I had a huge fish like in my grip, holding them in the water, I could get with my other hand one-handed and just tap my dad's number because he wouldn't know where to get me, you know, come pick me up.
Did you ever catch a big fish that way?
I caught about a 7-pounder doing that. That's about it.
I put a fish on the story the other day. Did you see that fish? That fish was a 5-pounder, but when he ate, I thought that thing was a giant.
He looked bigger than a chunk. Yeah.
I have long arms for my size, so, you know. But no, I didn't really long arm him too bad. That was just a real healthy, chunky fish out of a lake that none of y'all would ever think I would have fished. But it was a cool spot. I won't tell you where it is, just to avoid highlighting. Well, I'll tell you the area of the country. It's in Central Texas. But that fish ate a fluke on
I caught that fish
on a spinning rod. That was fun.
Yeah, I bet.
I like chunking spinning rods with flukes, especially because it's kind of a lightweight bait, so you need to flip it out there some.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Another thing we got going on right now, I don't know where the other one went, but we got new merch.
That was the one I stole for myself, and I think I took it downstairs.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So we got new merch. We actually told you guys about this, or might have said it a couple times, but it was all pre-order stuff, and now we've got the shirts in. Sell them in 15 seconds.
You just need to buy it to figure out what it is. That's what Pelosi said, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So
got to pass to know what's in it.
That's right. They are Make Mechanicals Great Again. It's a pretty sweet shirt. A little trivia for you. This is the first shirt we've ever hired the graphic design done by somebody else. Tyler
Which means it's cool.
That's right. It's way cooler than what we can design, and it does look cool. It's red, white, and blue. Get all kinds of patriotic on this thing with a cool big old 3-blade mechanical broadhead. Let me tell you, I'm going to wear this thing proudly. Even though I'm a guy who likes to use fixed blade broadheads pretty often, I think it's just kind of funny to be slightly controversial because everybody likes to poo-poo on some fixed blades on, on mechanicals on Facebook. So I'm going to be loud and proud in this thing.
That's it. Counterculture, man.
That's it.
That's what people like, man. That's what people like. That's why Nirvana was so big.
Is it?
Yep. So the last couple of days we've been doing some property stuff, man. This is not what we're known for, but it's because we've never had properties until the last couple of years.
That's right. And we're not very good at it, to tell you the truth of the matter, because last year we tried to do some property stuff, and it about near failed miserably. So I thought that I was going to be able to plant screening by doing my own thing, and it didn't work. I still don't know what we're going to do on that. I have some thoughts.
Yeah?
We've been debating.
Screening is expensive and long-term.
Y'all know us. We ain't big on non-native stuff. But this miscanthus grass looks like it's the answer. So let me ask you a question. Is a T-post native?
No.
But you use them to keep the cows in along with the barbed wire. So there's a spot for non-native things on the landscape as long as
Are you trying to be Tom Rosenbauer right now? Because I listened to that podcast the other day.
Did he say something about this stuff?
Oh, he had a guy on that they were talking about non-native stuff.
Really?
Or not anti-native. It wasn't really anti-native, but it was like, on that. This is the Orvis podcast for those who don't know. They were talking about how non-natives aren't as bad as people make them out to be sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
I don't want to go and just plant a whole bunch of autumn olive on my property, even though I don't know what that is. People don't like it. I've never seen an autumn olive in my life. I have seen some, what's some silver olives called? Russian olives.
Russian olives.
Yeah, those are cool trees. Apparently they're not native, but
Yeah.
they're pretty.
They are.
Probably why they're here. But I do think that if you planted a haploid miscanthus grass that cannot reproduce, there's a good chance it's not going to reproduce. I'm holding a dinosaur in my hand, so Jurassic Park has told us otherwise. But
so haploid being non-reproductive, correct?
yeah, it's like a mule where it's a hybrid of something. And
what's the difference in that and a triploid?
Well, maybe that is what I don't remember.
I remember that
it's been 10+ years.
You
Since
remember
I
there was like maybe like 10 years ago or so, maybe more than that. There was like this big world record rainbow trout scare that was not scare, but like they were scaring the world record with rainbow trout out of like Arkansas and stuff like that. And they were like catching like 40 pounders or whatever. They were giants, and they were triploids is what they were. So
there's triploid bass, triploid. I thought they were haploid though. There's diploid, which is reproductive. I think is a diploid. Somebody with a biology degree, if you're listening, let us know what this really means. But I think that haploid and triploid both are non-viable reproductive offspring.
I think diploid is what our armed forces are about to be.
Not good.
No.
Not good.
No.
Anywho, it would be good to have a non-native that works really, really good for screening that doesn't cause any problems. Like there's a difference in a non-native and a non-native invasive.
Yeah.
Wild hogs are non-native invasives, right? There's also a difference in a native invasive and a native, right? So let me think about this.
Grasshopper.
There are examples, right? So like a yellow grasshopper around here is a native critter, but some summers they will eat the screens off of your windows on your house. Not good, right? Mm-hmm. That's not really invasive. Isn't really the way to look at that. But like, say for instance, a
overbearing,
willow, like a regular old, I don't know what the type of willows that we have on pool dams are. Right?
They look like a weeping willow, but they don't weep.
They don't weep. Yeah, just a regular old willow tree. It's not a red willow, but
they're kind of the same leaf, though.
Yes, and those can be highly invasive in the wrong situation. You think about groundsel, which we really like. Groundsel can be highly invasive, and it's native. It's just one of those things where you just don't need really invasives are the problem. Native or non-native, it doesn't matter. So all the way back to habitat stuff.
Hold on. The other day when we were with Brian, we were talking about non-native invasives. What was it? It was hilarious.
Oh, I don't remember. It's about when we were about to put out that last camera, wasn't it? When we got the big deer.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere.
What were we talking about?
Dang,
it was like we were talking about the sugar sand and how it was non-native invasive.
we came up on this place that had a bunch of just white sand and like here in interior U.S. and we were like, man, this stuff is kind of overtaking this area. Ain't nothing growing. And like at the same time, me and K.C. both said non-native invasive.
That's right, dude.
Y'all don't probably think that's very funny, but
that's okay. They don't have to think everything we do is funny. Just some of it.
I do.
I know that's right. It's hard to just be who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So anyway, that is. You've been talking about the Gigantus muscanthus, and it is potential. There's potentially some screening applications that we're going to use that on.
Yeah,
right?
And then some loblolly pines. We transplanted some of those from my house to your house the other day. Pigs ate them. Yep. But that makes really good screening. We actually went and we haven't talked about this at all, but we went and did a property consultation for a guy who's now a friend of ours, Mark Stone, really cool guy. So that's not something we really advertise doing or whatever, but it's something you are interested in. It's something we're open to because we can all learn from each other, and it's fun. But anyways, I noticed that Mark used pines as screening, and he chopped the tops of them off at the height he wants, and every year he just goes back in and prunes them, and it works pretty good. I was like, that's kind of cool. I have to do a little bit of that. It'd actually be real neat if you could build you a little pine circle and then put your tripod inside that pine circle and then lop them all off about shoulder height, they're impenetrable.
The ones behind you keep high?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be sick.
That's what I've liked in the past, hunting, wherever. West Texas, whatever, getting them cedars, man, in a tripod. You could do a jumping jack, handstand,
Dude,
whatever you want.
Until your cedar fever kicks in.
Then you get cedar fever and you can't see straight through your eyes.
That's right. What are you going to do on your property, habitat-wise?
We did.
Habitat might be the wrong thing to say because we got the habitat.
Yeah, I mean, my habitat is growing better and better for sure. I've done a couple things so far this year. I've got probably 85% pasture land and 15 woods. And in the woods, I've been trying to take some of these cedars out to get, because it's a lot of cedars, and I'm trying to get sunlight to hit the ground in there. It needs a burn bad, but here's the thing: is the cedars are so thick, and the elms, and all of it in there is so thick that those cedars don't even fall when I cut them sometimes, and so. There's a lot of them that are stuck in there, and I need to bring some out, make some brush piles and stuff like that. I feel like, but I mean, like I said, they are so thick in there that I'm having to leave them and just let them skeletonize, basically. And I mean, they're doing some cool stuff. Like I went in recently and looked at the ones I did last year, and it definitely worked to an extent. The one thing that's an issue with that is that I don't want to cut off the deer from where they want to go, and that's kind of hard to do because them things will go whichever direction they want sometimes. And because I'm not going in there, I'm trying to make them fall one way, but if they don't, then I'm not too worried about it. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to go and see that it's not going to fall my way and go hook a line up to it and try to pull it or whatever. So that's one thing I'm trying to stay away from is making it to where deer just don't even want to walk through it. I want to at least have a few trails that can kind of carry through my property. Deer can travel back and forth through. And then you and I planted those pines yesterday as some screening. We'll see if they come up. They're little bitty. It'll be several years before they do much screening for me, or a couple years at least before they do much screening for me. But we'll know probably in a couple months whether they lived or not. And then you did a lot of tilling yesterday because I think I'm going to try to get a little more food on the property. Like you said, we've got the cover on our properties. Some more food would be a good thing, especially, I don't know, I mean, deer can make a living here all times of the year pretty much. We talked about how there's a high stress period for deer in our neck of the woods, and probably the whole Gulf Coast area of August, basically, just being so hot, so humid, stuff starts withering and dying. There's sometimes there's not even wind, and it's just 100 degrees and sweltering. So, it's kind of a stress period. But I think that we may have underestimated the January, February stress period a little bit, and maybe that's why. Maybe that is the limiting factor for the carrying capacity of our woods. Maybe the reason we have lower deer densities than maybe we feel like we should is because of those few months. You know what I mean? Sometimes
I feel like our deer aren't very tough either.
Yeah, thin-skinned, man.
The deer around here, if you were to fell a tree in January in Minnesota, I feel like deer are about like beavers. They'll eat the hard wood on that thing up to big around as your pinky. Deer around here might nibble the bud, and then they're going to be like,
Yeah.
And partially, they're just smaller skeletally, so they might not be able to chomp that wood. It might be the thing. So I feel like they just don't do as well in the winter because they're pickier or whatever. I mean, a grown doe around here might be 120 pounds, I mean, they get bigger than that too, but she's liable to be that small or smaller.
I wonder if I've seen some studies from, I can't even remember, maybe some Mississippi State people where they talked about, I think it was Mississippi State people, because they were talking about how there's 3 different types of main habitats in Mississippi, where there's a delta stuff that's real prolific and has really good soil composition, and then you've got pine areas and then something else. And they were talking about how throughout the study, long story short, they figured out that does were actually sending signals to their offspring on what the like status was outside. So like offspring in a certain area were going maybe 30% bigger than offspring in another area in the same state, not far away, because of the amount of food there.
Well, yeah, well, that's a pretty interesting thing. I think that was what's the name of that podcast? It's the Mississippi State one, Deer Habitat Podcast or something. But I think it was double generational too.
Yeah,
like the first generation didn't, but
right.
after the second generation, you saw that 30% of size increase because they were sending a signal to their fetus that, hey, for 3 or 4 years, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, my whole life it's been this way or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, for the does that were born in that first generation.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, it is crazy. But it kind of makes me think, like, maybe the does are sending signals to their offspring in our area that things are just right. We don't need any more of you guys. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need a bunch of double doe twins or whatever, or twins, you know, for per doe. I don't know. I'm just making a bunch of hypotheses here, but it just seems like that food could be we've seen deer really hammer our corn in the last month and a half. Mm-hmm. So that being said, I think food would be a good thing for the deer. And walking around, there's really there's stuff in there. There's greenbrier, but I mean, that stuff has got to be chewy. You know what I mean?
Like, it ain't the easiest thing.
It ain't good for them.
Yeah.
You know?
And I actually did some tilling on your property, and it's pretty cool because I was using Onyx to look at the sizes of the property. Right? Mm-hmm. You can use it's on their tools button down there at the bottom, and it's like you can do area shape, and you can kind of make the size of your food plot or whatever. Because you and I were talking, and really,
you can take like food plots that you know have worked for deer in the past, in wherever, and in the same area, say, and you can go, this is how big this is. This works. You know, how can we get close to that with our food plots?
Because we're not trying to build a kill plot, right? We're not
trying to feed deer.
Yeah, like the dump and grow or whatever it stuff's called. We're trying to feed some deer. And really it takes this is redneck science, but it takes like an acre of food to actually make a difference when it comes to feeding deer. You know, if you're down at half acre, a little less, they're eating it, but like it's really just an attractant more than it is like a food source, you know? So, and it depends on what you plant and stuff like that too, I think, because you can do some pretty high density plantings of some varied mixtures and probably get out a little bit better, you know, because you can give deer something that kind of mimics forbs along with like a wheat or something like that, and really have something there for them to eat. So we were doing that here and figured that about got you an acre in the ground right now. Yeah. And we might do more than that.
Yeah, I mean, we have the potential to do it. It's just like when you start laying out a property that's not very big, you got to think like, well, how important is this cover to daylight movement on my property? And if I get rid of it, it's 2 years before it comes back, like where it's cover again, at least, So how to that's the thing. And you've talked about this before with your property. Is kind of observing deer and seeing what they do, what they want to do on your property. I mean, I could do a huge overhaul, right, and work all spring and summer on my property, and I might do something that's not good. But if I do a few things that I feel like, could make a difference in just the deer movement bar, like just period, then, I can see how that works next year and make moves from there, I guess, And that's kind of one thing. It's like, I don't want to do too much, but I also don't want to do not enough that it doesn't force them to do something different, So I don't know. That's kind of the things that I have been doing, is trying to figure out like how much food can I plant and do I want to plant. And KC's, been kind to get a tractor over here and help me out on that. But, that's the hardest part of getting everything done, really.
Equipment and know-how is the two limited resources around here.
So, I mean, hopefully the know-how, it doesn't seem like too hard if you put a bunch of things together, blend them up, and try to make something come up,
we all know that wheat feeds deer pretty good.
Yeah.
So we mix wheat with something else, and it should go pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not afraid to try a bunch of different stuff together and see what comes up, and then from there, work off of that. So, I don't know. It's one of those things that's what I'm working through right now, is my cover stuff. Like, I'm trying to make sure there's daylight movement on this small property, right? And Last year there was not a lot of daylight movement. It didn't appear on my cameras, at least. I didn't spend hardly any time hunting here, but that was because I wasn't seeing much daylight movement on my cameras. So how do I make that happen more often, I guess?
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be fun to do that planning and try to make that happen. I think that's one of the allures of being a property owner is a little bit of management here and there and just trying to kind of figure out what works. And, by the time that you're ready to go dust to dust, you might have something figured out.
Yeah.
And your kids can benefit from it.
Yeah, for real.
But
that's what like all them dudes that have been doing it forever since like outdoor TV started, that's kind of where they're at. Is like a lot of them are turning into grandpas right now and getting and even getting quite a bit older than just being
except
a grandpa.
For Bill, he actually looks younger.
Yeah, somehow. But they all have these farms, and their kids and grandkids are going to get to reap the benefits. But thing is, once you get to grandkids and things start getting like split up and stuff, like there's always a bunch of them that don't care. It's like they're going.
Yeah, hopefully at least pass the gene on to one of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of planning, we've been doing some planning.
Teagues.
So, I've been doing some tag research here lately. There's some deadlines coming up. We're not going to talk any state specifics to y'all because y'all some sneakies. And we don't want to see you out there where we trying to hunt or taking our hunts or nothing. But no, go make sure you're keeping up with your tag application stuff, your points in all these states. Tyler and I are real fired up about elk this year.
Yep. So much so that I'm yawning.
We didn't go last year, so this year I think we're going to try to make elk happen one way or another. And we want to talk to y'all a little bit about something here.
Okay.
Baby. We have lived poor for so long in our lives, and not that we are just wealthy now by any means. However, we are trying to do this thing full time, right? And within that, there are business.
Full time, dude.
Yeah, we are.
Come on now, don't sell it short.
Oh yeah. There are business expenses that come along with said thing, right? So, there's a couple things that we want to run by y'all, see what y'all think about it. How many of y'all are open to leasing ground, and that being one of the ways that you have whitetail access? Because we've talked about not, just we're going to have public land routes because that's just the way we do stuff, right? But we have talked about maybe leasing a little ground, kind of on a cheap here around the eastern half of Texas that we can hunt and also have friends and family out on and stuff like that too. Because honestly, if I was trying to get into hunting and I had to go hunt some East Texas public to be the way I got into hunting, I'd be getting out of hunting pretty quick too.
Yeah.
So it'd be a great way to nurture some relationships and help introduce some people.
I also like the fact that there's more opportunity for us to try potentially some of the like land management type stuff. Like I get to plant 2 food plots this year on my property or whatever, and then maybe 1 or 2 with you. And it's like you could try something completely different on that property if you had the rights to do a little plant or whatever, and you may learn something there that you can use on your property. But just that experience, man, is kind of what I crave anyway,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think there's that, and also like we're going to try to draw some tags for elk, but we really want to go elk hunting, and I'm just going to give y'all something that you just take this what you want. I think elk hunting is going to be a lot different in 20 years than what we know of it as right now. I think it's going to be something that any person only gets to do every 4 or 5 years, just because it's getting so popular. And we're probably partially to blame for that, but that's just the way things go sometimes. I don't know. I ain't got a lot to say about that. But I think that it's feasible for most working individuals to want to spend a little money to get to go on a hunt like that from time to time. We might do a little something like that. Just not like a guided deal or whatever, but just try to get a tag somewhere. That way we can go hunting. So y'all let us know what
trespass fees is cool people call it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. If you're I don't know, that whatever that weird K word is that they use for rhinos, that's what they like to use as trespass fee. But like we said, we're not wealthy by any means, but like it would be nice to go hunt elk and do that from time to time.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't like spending a lot of money to go chase other guys around on OTC.
Yeah.
And that's what you end up doing.
I think honestly, I I know this is a tough deal for you. It's not quite as tough for me, but like I think there's a lot of dudes willing to spend money on things like that.
Yeah,
and
that's kind of why I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
everybody
I think there's a
listens,
lot of dudes out there, man, that like understand that and want to do it. And I know, like I said, that's something that mentally you have struggled with. Is like, man, like should we be spending money on this? Not we, but like, should I be spending money to go do a hunt? Because sometimes, for a guy who cares about his family and everything else, it can seem irresponsible. Mm-hmm. But like you said kind of earlier, you've talked about in a couple different ways. Like you can spend X amount of money and go out there and potentially have a really bad experience or not super fun experience, right? Mm-hmm. And you still spent some money and time. Mm-hmm. Or you can go out and spend the same amount of time, spend like maybe twice as much, 3-4 times as much, whatever, and have a crazy awesome hunt, not see people, see wildlife like it behaves when there's
become
not
a better hunter.
Become a better hunter, and then just get an experience. Also, potentially bring back some really awesome meat with elk and stuff. And I think there's a lot of dudes that see those values.
Eating elk so bad. 2018, right? It's the last time that we had an elk. Golly.
We used to just sit around the RV all the time eating elk.
I know, dude.
Remember
Every
that?
meal.
Those were good days, man.
Golly,
we had nothing to do.
The element was fuel on the elk meat back then.
That's right, and we didn't do nothing good. Everything we did was terrible. I don't know why y'all are still hanging out listening to us.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's a big deal. So some of you guys may know Chris Webb, who's a part of the element and has. You saw him in South Dakota this year and in Texas. He shot a buck in Texas. So if you haven't seen that, it's a really cool video. He shot a really awesome buck. First buck with a bow, right?
Yeah.
And then he was hunting some in South Dakota. You'll see him. He actually missed a deer in South Dakota. Unfortunately, he was juiced up, though.
Yeah, and, I would have been too.
He probably will listen to this, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw this out there because I love him. We called it, the episode was called Christmas for a while. But I had to say that, Chris, so sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Chris, I was talking to him about some of that stuff the other day, and dude, he's like, he loves what we do. He has loved what we do since he found us and before we ever knew each other. Mm-hmm. And he's doesn't spend a ton of time hunting public and like is all about going and shooting elk if it costs some money and whatever else. Man. So it's just,
honestly,
it's hard.
Hunting public is hard enough.
Yeah.
Like you go buy a landowner tag somewhere, if you're not on the private ranch, like you're still competing against all the people that are hunting that unit.
For sure.
And I hate the idea of competing, but it really is. Like you're competing for the resource.
That's right. Yeah.
You're not competing against them.
Yeah.
But so it's not like it's a canned hunt or anything like that.
Well, dude, I mean, not everybody's Randy Newberg and has been putting in for 30 years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I mean, I'm not saying anything. I've sat right beside Randy and ate dinner before, so I'm not saying anything bad. Y'all don't go be telling him stuff. We ain't talking about him. I think it's awesome that he got to do that, but not everybody is that age, right? And has had the foresight to start putting in the funds and whatever else it was to start putting in when everything opened, And as far as I know, Randy is drawing these tags, So
he did say one time he bought a landowner tag.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he has before,
and he's upfront about it. That's
right.
And I mean, not that it even has to be, right?
No,
you're just on public land. It is what it is.
I mean, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of like you could spend $1,200 on a new bow, or you could spend $400 on a 4-year-old bow, or whatever, however old, So like. Not everybody wants to spend the same amount, but everybody has an opportunity, right?
I quit snuff so that I could buy a landowner tag one time.
There you go.
I was having to quit snuff 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And
still
so now
haven't made enough money.
I've accumulated enough money to make up for it, right?
So at $7 a can, I guess you actually have made enough money. Let me
tell you what, I did. I have.
Yeah.
It's been absorbed.
Been absorbed by your wife.
That's right.
Who we were talking about in the beginning of this episode. Wives.
Yeah. Perfect. But y'all understand right now that elk hunting is not going to be, in my opinion, the way it is now. You will not be able to go to these states and just go elk hunting on an OTC tag over the counter.
Talk about making you want to cry.
Yeah,
dude.
makes you want to cry. But it is what it is. And at the same time, Do you want to go over the counter elk hunt right
Not
now?
anymore,
No.
but I mean, you killed 2 bulls OTC.
Yeah, it was a different
a couple
world.
years back. That's right. It's
Insane
before pre-COVID.
amount. Yeah, and
Yeah.
pre-COVID and here's something that's not talked about enough that I'm going to put out there for the world to hear.
Dadgummit, don't get us censored.
These states start taking certain units out of over the counter and putting them into draw only, which is fine. They, I guess, have the prerogative to do that. But what happens is you don't have the same number of guys in the leftover over-the-counter units that you would have. You have all those people that used to hunt those other units over the counter who still aren't putting in for the draw, and they just pile into these other over-the-counter units, and what it's doing is killing over-the-counter elk hunting death by 1,000 cuts.
Right, because now those units are terrible, and people are overcrowded.
And the states are gonna like, you know, champion for this whole like, oh, we actually need to manage these units better. It's like, well, actually, if you just would give people more opportunity to hunt, manage a certain amount of units in the state for, I can go on and on.
Yeah,
but pretty much they're making the hunting in some of these units worse on purpose.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Well, that's a
and you know what? If you want to get real conspiracy theory on it,
that's a conspiracy.
Here's what I have to say
for sure.
Anti-hunting groups hate hunting, but they hate lots of animals dying a lot more than they do a few animals. So I think
you wouldn't say people who support parks would be anti-hunting, would you?
I don't know what they support, but I would say that having parks and wildlife within the same umbrella in a state department is a terrible, terrible choice. And I would also say that there are a few units in some states that they only give out 3 or 4 tags for, and those are really, really good hunts. And you think that anti-hunting groups, anti-hunting entities are not smart enough to realize, like, oh, you know what? If we could just facade this as like trophy management and make it to where nobody wants to hunt these things except a few elites, then for the most part, it's a net win for us because instead of...
They killed hunting in 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Western hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Could be a deal.
Welcome to y'all positive outlook.
So y'all just go home and just sit in a dark corner by yourself.
Kiss your wife tonight.
Eat a bunch of milk chocolate.
That's right. You no longer have to be in elk shape ever again.
That's right. Yeah. You know, one thing that you and I talked about that could be a good way to solve that, the like point creep stuff. I don't know. This is a thought. If you have any thoughts on this, send us an email or message or something. Let us know what you think about this. Mm-hmm. You talked about this. I thought it was a great point. The way to kind of get around some of this point creep is to create more seasons / depending on habitat, obviously more units. Mm-hmm. And so like what you see in some states that we've been kind of researching this stuff is like short seasons that are like 2 weeks and instead of like month-long season. Like Colorado's a month, right? Mm-hmm. So like if you want to hunt archery and you draw or you go E236 or whatever, you got the whole month of September, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you split that into like New Mexico does where it's season archery 1, archery 2, or early archery, late archery, and you've got the first 2 weeks of September and the second 2 weeks of September as different seasons, suddenly you've given twice as many tags out pretty much, right? So you start to eliminate that creep and maybe even work backwards if you can do it right.
Yeah. And within that, the issue you're going to have is like, well, that's just still twice as many hunters, so there's more take. If you make the season short enough, you're giving access opportunity, but not giving people
less
enough
success
time.
Rate. Yep.
Yeah. So the success rates might be lower per hunter, and you have to decide, is there any grease in your biscuits or not?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like you're the guy who can still go in there and kill an elk or not?
Right.
You know, like,
and it's there's no like this all isn't sounding great, right? Like it's all has something that's wrong, you know. But like, here's the thing, guys, is like this is we have.
It's like this, man.
It's like this. We have a limited number of resources on this earth, right?
Yep.
As the human population grows, there's going to be more hunters in the field. Period, until it's gone, right? Uh-huh. Until hunting is not a thing anymore, if that ever happens. And then also there's less habitat because the human population is building like crazy. And so I'm not saying this to say like to doomsday everything, but like that's a good reason for us to be involved some way in conservation. And we talked about this earlier on our phone call that I kind of glazed over on a couple times. This is a good way. Like you can spend your $30 with a conservation org, or you can go to your Ducks Unlimited banquet and you can buy raffle tickets. But if you really want to do something to create habitat for more population of elk or whatever, there's different ways to do it than to go to DU and try to win a gun. And I think that getting your hands on some of this property is one way to do it. To positively affect. I mean, pure and simple, littering is hurting like the small things in this world, the small animals that feed the big animals. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Microplastics are a real big conspiracy theory thing. People talk about that a lot. Hadn't researched that enough yet. I don't want to be mad.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, as silly as it sounds, I think that's a great point. Not that you sound silly, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
small things make a big difference. Like, you don't have to post it on Instagram either. You can just go out and pick stuff up. You don't have to be like, today the 3-letter chapter of this organization, we're going to go out and have a public lands day where we're going to pick up all this trash. Look at these 4 bags of trash we all got. Now let's go get a beer at pint night. Like you don't have to do that.
You don't, man. But if it helps,
I'm making everybody mad today, dude. I'm sorry.
It's all right. If you get your, if you have a group of guys locally that fires up to do, then do it. But you know what I mean? Like if you can do this without, like you said, without making any big deal of it. And there are ways, man. And I mean, like coming to top of my mind, that's one of them right now. There's other ways, but I just think that like I was out in my pasture, and I'm not trying to like fluff myself up here, but I was out in my pasture yesterday planting pine trees, and there was like LBBs flying up everywhere out there because I got 4-foot tall blue stem that's thicker than.
And the previous owner turned it into a lunar surface with cows.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. So the cows served a purpose in fertilizing this and making for good habitat, but it was never going to be that unless somebody with the same general intentions as me was going to buy this property. And you just can't hardly afford to buy property and not either develop it for some sort of commercial or residential property or put cows on it right now. Yep. And putting cows on it, frankly, is not going to pay the bills right now with the way the land prices are. You're not going to pay the mortgage. So, that's the thing is like you've got either lunar surface, coastal Bermuda stuff right here, or you've got subdivisions going in.
Yeah.
And so it is. I mean, luckily, I bought before it got really crazy prices, but it gave me the opportunity, and I'm still like. I mean, if I was running cows on this thing right now, like I would be not sweating bullets every month, paying the mortgage. You know what I mean? So, but I just have decided that I'd rather have some close calls in the bank account for a little while, at least till I feel like I really can't afford it, than and see wildlife and stuff, than let it be, lunar surface cattle country. So. There are things you can do, guys. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm not saying if you run cows on your property, you're bad, because only person that does that is Cody Brown. That's bad. So, but there are things we can do, guys, and I think that just being like proactive and taking a little bit of initiative to do something like that goes a long way. So, like I said, the tags thing is not to. We're not trying to like scare nobody or make anybody sad, but it is what it is. So let's try to make it better,
That's right,
and with that, like another thing we've been looking forward to is deer a lot in the next fall. So we've been thinking about that a lot. And there's some states you got to apply for, like Iowa, which is you stand a decent chance of drawing this year that we're excited about. And then there's some that are over the counter that we're looking at too. And all this plays in like. Our schedule this next year is going to be ridiculous, and it's kind of fun. It's really fun, except for that now we've been literally talking about it for 4 weeks straight.
Dude,
I feel like. And
it's a long way off still, and I'm like, let's just get to it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this planning stuff.
I really am excited about fishing, to be honest, but
yeah,
I mean,
we're going to have a good time. this fishing stuff. In case y'all didn't know, my wife's expecting, so pretty excited about that. But it's going to make
expecting
August,
you to make money this year.
That's right. August is going to be kind of weird because our due date's August 18th. So I can't do a ton of...
doodad.
Yeah, it is our doodad for sure. Hers at least. But I can't do a ton of traveling, probably late July on. And then I'm really hoping this kid comes a little early. Not too early, right? But like if it was like August 1st or something, that'd be real cool.
Primo.
Yeah, because then we wouldn't have too much of an issue leaving the second half of September. It's going to be kind of hard, though. I'm sure you know this stuff real good. But like, leaving a little bitty kid's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Leaving a kid anytime is kind of weird. But anyways,
I was touring when mine were born.
Yeah. Dude, I can imagine.
Yeah. It's, I don't know.
They still like you now, so apparently it's not that big of a deal.
They don't remember.
That's right.
Kaylee always says, well, there ain't nothing you can do anyway, so,
she needs to hang out with my wife more. I'm very excited they're going to National Wild Turkey Federation together this year.
Y'all go hang out over there. We'll hang out over here.
That's right. Y'all talk all about that stuff that can help my wife with that. So I am looking forward to doing a lot of fishing this spring and then rocking and rolling this fall because it's going to be so sweet. I can't wait to let y'all in on a little bit about what we got going on this fall. There's some things that we just have to hold off on for right now. But just know it's going to be real cool.
It's going to be
real
cool.
excited. So anyways, remember to get out there, do your small part for conservation. You know what? Maybe that's not dollars. Maybe that's getting your kids out there and showing them that, we own 120 foot of road frontage, and it's going to be the prettiest bit of road frontage that we got on this county road. There's going to be no trash there. And then show them that you can also stand on the side of the ditch, and when people throw stuff out, you can pepper them a little bit with 410. But outside of that,
just don't hit that beautiful cardinal that you...
I thought about that, dadgummit, dude. I'm tired of these people throwing... We're trying to wrap this up.
Oh.
But there'll be a wrapper from a fast food place that they ain't a location for like 100 miles. It's like, where are y'all coming up with, a QT wrapper?
I thought you were talking about like a musician rapper.
No. And it's hot in musicians. No, anyways, I don't mean to rant.
No, that's good. Hey, real quick, we also have some postseason videos, postseason scouting videos that a few of y'all seem to have appreciated. So we're going to try to maybe put a couple more of those out too. So if you're interested in that, be looking forward to a couple more of those. And if you haven't seen them and you're interested in knowing everything we know about scrapes, rubs, or truck scouting or whatever, then check those out as well. But yeah, back to your Cardinal ditch.
That's it. Remember to do that. Remember to check out the YouTube channel, and remember this is your element.
Live it.